Welcome to our fourth
Hello.
episode of Ask the D&D Professors. Gustavo is very excited to be here with us. Chris is back too. I am Elizabeth. I do musicology and disability studies, but for better or worse, OTG is my fault, I think is the best way to describe my role in this endeavor. Chris, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. In my day job, I am a professor of musicology along with Elizabeth at Virginia Tech. And otherwise, I am OTG's self-professed forever DM and the storytelling lead. And for our stream that we're doing tomorrow, which we're going to talk about a little bit tonight, I'm the one that wrote the adventure and am responsible for that hilarity that will ensue. Although, no, I'm actually not responsible for it. It's going to be our players that are going to be responsible for it because they are going to be very fun. So I'm excited about that.
So much chaos.
But yeah, that's
Gustavo,
me.
you want to say
Gustavo, do you
hi
want to introduce
again?
yourself?
Sure. I'm Gustavo, and I work at Virginia Tech as at one of the institutes here, research institutes, and we helped fund some of the work that OTG did, and I met them that way, and I've started playing with them and helping them in every way that I can, and it has been a mile-a-minute thrill ride ever since.
It is genuinely hard to imagine what we were doing before we gradually pulled you into our orbit.
You guys were doing just fine, but I'm happy to be part of it.
It's fantastic. But yeah, before we go much further, let's talk about the live stream a little bit. So tomorrow on this channel, 11 a.m. Eastern, Chris is DMing, I'm playing, Gustavo's playing, and we're joined once again by Doug Cockle, the magnificent Virginia Tech alum, voice actor, voice of Geralt of Rivia from the Witcher video games, and he also performs as Kelnus on the Natural 6 actual play show. Doug will be back with us playing, and we have a new friend this time, Amy Vorpal. I think Dropout is probably where you've most likely seen Amy Vorpal. I read over her bio today, though, and I think we've all seen Amy Vorpal everywhere without even realizing it. There's so many television shows. I didn't know that she'd had roles on, too. It's just fantastic. And she's got a new album coming out. Yeah, I'm learning more every day. But Doug and Amy are joining us. We're going to be raising money for Dots RPG. Dots is our sister organization, our friends that have been so incredibly helpful, especially getting us to our first con and helping us create the Access Forward Gaming Lounge. Dots is best known for their Braille dice. I'm going to try to hold these up. They probably will fall. These are the gorgeous metal ones. They are Braille dice that actually work. They were developed with the blind and low vision community. And we're raising money so that they can order the next production run. Now, you can already buy acrylic and metal dice from Die Hard Dice. And the folks at Dots encourage you to do so. Even if you yourself are not a Braille user, if you think you may ever want to play D&D with someone who is, if you want to learn Braille, each side is a letter. So it's actually a really cool way to learn Braille yourself. But their next run, instead of the sets like this one, they're going to be 10 of a single type of die. And this is going to open up what they're creating to all sorts of different games. Everything from Yahtzee to, goodness, is it Vampire Masquerade that uses D10s? Oh, look, y'all didn't know there was going to be a trivia question where the person asking doesn't know the answer. But this is going to give a lot more flexibility, so it's not just D20 systems, but everyone will be able to benefit from the dice. They posted a preview of what these are going to look like. They're incredibly cool, so you can check them out on their socials. We've shared them on the OTG socials also. You know, Atlas is going to help us out by dropping the Tiltify link if they haven't already. And you can donate early if you would like to get access to the character sheets for all 4 players. If you donate during the stream, you'll also get that access, but you'll be able to change the game. You can select rewards, everything from $5 for Amy and Doug to do a little shout out, all the way through, let's see, advantage and disadvantage for players. So if you want to torture me, you can torture me. If you want to give Doug a hand, you can give Doug a hand. That's probably how that's going to go. We've got healing potions, a heal spell. Man, there is a revivify on there if things go bad. There is a Revivify. But there's also
We're
these
not going to
cool
need it, right,
milestones.
Chris?
That's entirely up to you.
I hate it when he says that. He says that and we go down. No,
It's fine.
there are also cool milestones. So as we hit certain amounts on the way to our goal, we get to unlock cool toys for Chris.
This
And
is
the fun
true.
thing is, I don't even know what all of these mean because depending on when we hit them in the live stream, they have different impacts. Is there anything else you want to say about those?
Yeah, it turns out enemy power-ups can be basically anything I want it to be, so that's exciting. And it will vary depending on, and I have things planned out. No, it's not completely arbitrary. But depending on when it happens in the stream and where the characters are and kind of what they're dealing with, it could take different forms. Also, similarly open-ended and delightful for me is help the players, which I think is maybe our 350 goal or 250 goal. No, 350. Yeah. So yeah, it's exciting. Also, please pray for my internet because I am in a little mountain town for a festival for the summer,
You're
and
advertising.
yeah. Oh yeah, I am, aren't I? Ooh.
I don't know if they can see it quite on the stream, or you'd have to be
Yeah.
higher.
Well, yes, it's Brevard Music Center in Brevard, North Carolina. I'm being a music nerd professionally for 6 weeks. So actually, maybe that's a good segue to talk a little bit about the adventure. So I thought, since we're
I will
doing this.
say,
Oh,
speaking of the segue, I've gotten multiple questions about why our social media posts have the hashtag opera.
oh, right. So that's my fault. So as I mentioned, right, I'm a professional music nerd. And one of my main research interests is opera, which is a incredibly silly, absurd, gorgeous, dramatic, over-the-top art form that I think is really interesting and also deeply problematic in a lot of ways. Especially, it's very misogynist a lot of the time. And so one of my big parts of the project for OTG has been writing a book of adventures for D&D 5e that are based on operas. The plan is to have 5 different adventures. In this book, let's see. If you search real hard, you can find our initial forays into this out there on the wilds of the internet. So I've done 2. We used one as our play testing for our cognitive access tools, for the character sheet, for the decision guide, for all our fun toys. And this next one that we're going to play on the stream tomorrow is another one in the series that I've now iterated a couple of times. And it is based on an opera called The Legend of the Invisible City of Kitezh and the Maiden of Favronia, which is a very fun title. And it is... Yeah, it is by the Russian composer Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov. It was premiered in 1904.
Careful, I saw at least one musicologist like in the chat who's going to call. Yeah.
Well, yeah, fact check me in the chat. Anyway, but yeah, so this opera is very much this kind of like Russian fairy tale fantasy realm. Rimsky-Korsakov and his librettist, who I forget who that is now, but they basically put together this story. Librettist is the person that writes the text, like
a
the
bad
book.
musicologist.
I know. I look. You can just look it up on Wikipedia. I'm interested in the meat and potatoes.
You're doing great. I'm giving you a hard time.
Sorry, my dog just jumped off the bed and had an issue. Anyway, we are right. So this adventure, or rather this opera, is this kind of Russian fairy tale that they pulled together a bunch of different folk tales and kind of elements of Russian legends together to create this kind of, this big opera. And so what I've done has been to adapt this opera for D&D. And what's fun is that a lot of times with opera, I don't have to do a lot. Like, I just have to slap some rules on it, and it becomes D&D because opera is insane. So, for example, a previous adventure that I wrote, based on the liberation of Alcina. The liberation of Ruggiero from the island of Alcina. It's by the composer Francesca Caccini. It's the first opera we have an historical record by a woman. It's from 1637. And in any case, the point is that is based on like these kind of what are effectively Crusades fan fiction. It was people back in Renaissance and Italy that were writing stories about the Crusades and including all sorts of like magic and monsters and sorcerers and things like this. And so they're among the things that are in the original opera that of course I just put straight into the D&D adventure are in order. There is a good and an evil sorceress that kind of match off against each other in this opera. The good sorceress rides a dolphin to the island to get there to then go save Ruggiero. There is a grove of enchanted plants that is all the evil sorcerer's former lovers turned into plants that can talk. Which then I had to improvise a bunch of trees talking, so that was fun for me. And then, let's see, the evil sorceress rides a ship made of whale bones into battle at the end of the opera while also summoning a horde of monsters. So, again, I just slap some rules on it. It's D&D. So this adventure that we're going to play tomorrow, similarly, I mean, not quite so over the top as that, but plenty of opportunities for kind of this mystical sort of Russian fairy tale, folk tale kind of stuff. So I'm very excited. And yeah, I mean, it's not too much of a spoiler because it's going to happen like right at the very beginning. The maiden Favronia is this kind of woman who lives in the woods and who is kind of this pure kind of person who her brother is a bird and she is just out there having a good time living her life, and then like the prince shows up and immediately they fall in love and then the rest of the opera kicks off. I did not leave the bit in about the prince, but what better way to have a free spirit who lives in the woods and is all about the glory of nature than making them an NPC druid. So that's very fun for me. So it's that kind of adaptation and that kind of being able to have fun with it that I really like about this project, and that like the music from this opera is fabulous. Like I cannot recommend it enough. There is a really cool if you like classical music, that's the asterisk for all of this. There is an orchestral suite by the composer. He took a bunch of the music and he arranged it as just a purely instrumental piece. I think it's about 18-ish minutes or so, 20 minutes maybe. And it's got like kind of the greatest hits of the various themes from the 3.5-hour opera condensed into 20 minutes. So it's great. And yeah, so the music is actually what got me into it in the first place. And then I was reading this plot and seemed perfect for D&D. So anyway,
Yeah,
I can stop yakking.
It's very cinematic too. Like a lot of once we start getting film scores, which is a very popular genre for people to listen to, whether or not they consider themselves into classical music.
That's
There's
true.
so many references back to late Romantic and early 20th century works, and Rimsky-Korsakov's colorful illustrations, or I mean, orchestrations. I can't even speak now.
Yeah.
His orchestrations and things. You hear John Williams doing similar stuff.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, actually, speaking of illustrations, this is the nice thing is like there was such a movement in late 19th, early 20th century Russia around this kind of fantastical folktale stuff that there's all sorts of really beautiful art out there that is also public domain. So I'm going to be using that on the stream for some kind of background images and things like that to kind of set the scene. So I'm very excited about that too.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Is there a Rimsky-Korsakov piece that people might be familiar with?
His most famous is probably Scheherazade, which is based on the 1001 Nights. This kind of Arabic, kind of Indian subcontinent series of tales that were translated into French and then kind of spread from there. Aladdin comes from this. But Scheherazade is the story of the narrator who is anyway. I won't go into it, but basically it's a very, very popular showpiece for orchestras, and so it's likely I think it's probably his most famous and played
That or
piece.
Flight of the Bumblebee, right? Like,
yeah,
it depends on where you're at.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Same guy. That's him.
Yeah,
same guy.
For the Looney Tunes fans out there.
Indeed.
That's a great way to learn about classical music, frankly. Adam Wonder Pets. R.I.P.
Unfamiliar with Wonder Pets.
Hoping somebody in the chat, helps me out on that one. But yeah, no, this it seemed like a particularly great adventure for us to do when we were invited to contribute to the Gaming for Everybody event. We should note this live stream we're doing tomorrow, it's part of a month-long, we're hoping this becomes an annual fundraising event for groups like Dots RPG who are doing accessibility in gaming and serving the disability community. July is Disability Pride Month, and there are a number of actual play tabletop gaming streams happening. There's also video game streamers doing it by themselves and others. So you can check that out. We are number 2 on the leaderboard last I checked, mostly because our event is earlier. And mostly because Andrew Delantonio is nice. Yeah, so I wanted to make sure that I worked those couple things in there. It is a really exciting event. Now, I feel like a good kind of way for us to start teasing some of the fun stuff tomorrow without necessarily spoiling it, but also to talk a little bit more about the purpose of this fundraiser and the Gaming for Everybody event is to look at the OTG character sheets and these other tools. Maybe we'll start with Gustavo's character. Do you want to talk about who you're playing tomorrow?
Sure. I'm going to play a character I'm calling David.
Just spelling it in the coolest way possible.
Fantasy David, which is spelled DAE apostrophe VEHD.
I was gonna say there's an H in there, and I don't even remember where. Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
David.
You need an apostrophe and extra letters for fantasy, fewer letters, and shove it together for sci-fi.
Oh yeah. And it's a sorcerer, and we're playing 2024 rules, which is exciting because I don't know them all yet. And so here's my character sheet.
Oh, it's blurring it because it's not
It's
you.
blurring it.
Atlas, you sharing it?
Oh, hey.
Here we go.
They can see it on the stream.
And so you can just get a little hint of all the things that you would see if you were to contribute to the Tiltify. But he is a disgraced noble who has gone adventuring in order to win back Papa's love. So that's the character idea, and hopefully he'll be a fun maker of mischief and magical explosions. There's a lot of fun stuff in the new 2024 rules for players.
David is traveling with Toblin.
That's right.
I'm playing Toblin. She's mostly a bard, but a little bit of a rogue. Maybe leaning a little bit more into the rogue some days. Toblin, although this isn't really a concept in 2024, Toblin was originally a 2014 character that I've had the chance to play in a few different things. So at this point in her life, she is a half-elf. She was a retired adventurer who got back into the game. She had settled down outside of Neverwinter in a small town for a while, just kind of running an inn. Before, the call to adventure was too strong and she couldn't avoid it. Toblin has gradually built up a little bit of a real estate empire, acquiring taverns, a cute little abandoned manse in the woods with a pumpkin patch that's now a lovely B&B. That said, don't let that merchant background fool you too much. She is taking advantage of what being a merchant and having these connections can do to support the work of groups like the Harpers, if you're into D&D lore. So I think where we had left it, correct me if I'm wrong, Gustavo, is that Toblin is older, and I think she has taken young David under her wing, seen potential, trying to help him grow into the hero he can be.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Against his own wishes, probably.
I mean, yes, I 100% believe that Toblin believes that. I'm not sure that that's the case.
I think the problem is like her insight is too high to not know how wrong she might be.
Toblin sees the good in people.
She's got faith. It might work out. Yeah.
I personally just love it when a character has nothing but daddy issues or mommy issues. Either way.
Toblin also has mommy issues, but we've never gotten to that part actually in any of the stories. Toblin will, I'm sure, at some point pontificate about the time she defeated a dragon. But But some of that story is hidden away on the character sheet and her magic item. So all the characters do have a magic item, and it's kind of fun because every magic item is very much central to the character's story. And I don't even think we did that on purpose. But I did interrupt you before, Gustavo. What are some cool things that we can expect from David?
From David, I mean, just in general with the new 2024 rules, they're just kind of fun. That's what I'm looking at here. There's a new spell, a new cantrip that I'm excited to try out here, which is what's it called? Sorcerer's Burst.
Oh yeah.
Which kind of has an exploding mechanic, if you're familiar with that sort of thing, where if I do a D8 or 2d8 of damage, but if I roll a d8, I get to roll another d8, and I get to continue rolling d8s until I hit my spellcasting modifier, as long as that goes on. I think it's pretty unlikely that it happens, but it's kind of a fun little gamble, huh? So that Arcane Vigor, is that new? I don't know.
Yes, it's a self-heal thing. I think that's new.
Yeah, it's a self-heal. I get to just use a spell slot to like use some of my hit dice immediately in the moment, which is kind of nice for the old glass cannon. If I can take a hit and survive it. So those are just a couple of the classics here.
You are like a Draconic Sorcerer, so you're a little tougher than average.
Oh yeah, that's right. And then Draconic Sorcerers get like a bonus to their AC right off the bat, which is pretty cool. And then what is the other features of the Draconic Sorcerer? And a whole bunch of spells. You get a whole bunch of spells that come with your subclass that are just kind of always prepared.
As you level up, you get more cool stuff.
Yeah, and you'll get more cool stuff. So like Dragon's Breath, which I think is also maybe new, which is what it sounds like. But there's a whole bunch of fun stuff in here.
I will say one of the cool things about playing this level 7 adventure is that we're able to show folks just how much like the OTG tools can grow with your character. So most of our playtesting was done with level 3 tools. That's not to say, I mean, we had versions of Calnus's character sheet for the Natural 6 that Doug let us play with, especially when it was kind of transitioning to the 2024 rule set, and we were able to see what we needed to change and what could stay the same as we moved into this new era for 5e. And I think the highest thing I've played is like a level 14 version of Toblin. That was an 8+6. I think it was like we're 7 bard, 5 rogue, something like that. I can't remember. It was a high level one that we did for Orpheus.
That was level 11, I think.
Level 11?
Yeah.
The level 14 might have been a game I did online. Oh. But what's really cool about this, like the decision guide, which is one of our more popular tools, we've got one side that is nice bluish green, and that's going to give you most of what you need for combat and exploration. The other side with the pinks and the maroons. Oh, you've got it handy. The pinks and the maroons are what you need for combat. And then we have cards for spells that simplify the language and are color-coded by level. And then cards that are, so those are kind of portrait, and then landscape. We have ability cards that we've also used those for magic items, for feats, for racial traits. Look at that. Gustavo's so ready to go.
There you go.
And these help pull out some of the things that take a little bit more explaining, or where you might want to be able to check those boxes to track usage, stuff like that. Magic items are great when you're DMing too, because you can just hand them to someone in the middle of the session.
That is fun. I like that. I'll also say, like, we should point out too that like all our tools are free. They're available for free on our website. They're open access, or rather, Creative Commons license, so they are free forever now because we can't change it. And they, that's also part of our ethos. But the kind of the pre-gen versions, I guess, for the characters for the stream are, it's an incentive to help donate, is why there's a little bit of money involved. But of course, it's all going to a good cause. But if you want to play around with our tools, you absolutely can. Just like go download them, go play around with them, and then talk to us on our Discord and tell us what you did with them. Because we really are hoping to kind of get these out to the community and see what other people do with them in terms of, you know, this idea of like greater access, right? Like how do we simplify things, keep the rules the same, and then just allow more people to play? Because that's the kind of motivation behind the tools. So.
Yeah, Toblin's an interesting case with these tools because rogues and bards have a lot of feats. There are a lot of traits, I should say, a lot of features and traits. In 2024, we now tend to have more feats because everyone ends up with an origin feat to start. Humans just have so much going on. 3 of our characters are humans. Toblin is written as a high elf, leaning a little bit more into that half of her lineage. But Atlas, if you can show the top half of the combat side of Toblin's sheet, you can see a few things here. One is that thanks to that first level in Rogue, she has 2 weapon masteries. So we list the weapon mastery info in the weapons part. So you've got the attacks, you list the weapon across, there's a little info box. We can list the masteries there, but then have a card that gives you the full text in case you forget what exactly the difference between Vex and Sap and all of those other things would be.
I constantly forgot it when I was playing a fighter recently. It would have been so helpful to have those cards.
Well, and I even put her sneak attack on that. So underneath unarmed strike, she's got sneak attack there. I have nothing for to hit, so I remember this is not something you roll to hit with.
Ah.
And then I just have an abbreviated summary of like, you know, advantage or ally within 5 feet. Although there is a card later on in her PDF that you can find that gives the more detailed rule for sneak attack. There's so many more features. And I'll say if you're converting from 2014 to 2024, keep a very, very close eye on spells. Detect Magic has a subtle change. I mean, like a lot of the standbys that we're really used to that you wouldn't think needed an upgrade have some upgrades. And I do think there is a lot more pressure on the DM to adjudicate because there's a lot more I think they were trying to simplify the language and went in the direction of just not specifying certain things. So if you're used to the 2014 where you can really dig into it and usually find the answer, this one's going to be a little bit shakier. But yeah, there's for Toblin as a Valor Bard, she gets extra cool uses for her Bardic Inspiration. So her Bardic Inspiration card switched from a class card. Any of you who play tested our materials, if you have memory like mine, you played a bard, you might remember that the Bardic Inspiration card was blue for being associated with a class feature. Hers is purple for subclass, but that's because I have the extra cool uses that Valor Bards have for their Bardic Inspiration on that one. Another big difference I noticed, there's a lot of features where you can now regain 1 use with short rest and the rest with long rest.
Yeah.
So that did push the cards a little bit. We needed a little more text there, but it's kind of worked out in every case so far. I do think some of my favorite cards that I got to play with to make these would be magic items and the familiar for Amy's character, but I don't really want to ruin that surprise. So you'll just have to check that out. But we've been playing with how to put stat blocks for familiars or for creatures that are summoned by magic spells onto the item card layout, and that's worked pretty well. Yeah.
I wonder how much. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I wonder how much we can talk about Doug and Amy's character sheets without spoiling too much. Just because they're also very fun, and I'm excited to see what's happening there, or like how it's gonna play out.
I'm gonna let our disembodied voice Atlas. What do you think, Atlas? What's the vibe in the chat? Do they want to hear about Doug and Amy?
Make sure chat can hear me as well. I don't know. I would say maybe tease a little bit of it.
I'm thinking about one thing each I want to tease. Oh gosh, should we do Doug's magic item? I'm so proud of myself. And
yeah, you should talk about that one. You had a fun time, I think, making that one.
Okay, Atlas is going to pull up Doug's magic item. Doug's character's name is Gary Alt. Chat. What do we think that means? So my understanding is this is different than if you watched the Save the Hokey Bird adventure we did for the Virginia Tech fundraiser back in February. That one was spelled Gerry alt. Okay, this one is Gary alt. I think one was a first cousin, one's a second cousin of the person we're all thinking of. But they are very similar. He has picked an Eldritch Knight build for both. There's going to be a lot of things that are quite familiar. I love that he picked Jim's magic missile just for its potential to blow up in your face. Big fan.
That is cool.
Doug did not select a magic item. So I think Chris had told us we could have an uncommon item or a rare one if we had a really good reason for it. And we explained it to him. So we all just like ran with it. Except, I mean, Gustavo was actually pretty modest in his item. The letter of credit. Okay. So Doug had a little note about this character having 2 locks of hair in his possession. One black as a raven, the other red as a cherry. And this was just in the section where there's like other possessions where you just type in D&D Beyond. So that's what his magic item is going to be. I decided that the way to give these an interesting effect that's not overpowered but kind of fun is that either one of the locks could be tied around the grip of one of his swords. He has a couple of different sword options. So this way the locks are attuned to him so he can change which weapon they're on, but only the swords, not the crossbows he also has. The one that is black as Raven will do an additional 1d4 lightning damage every time there's a hit. The one red as a cherry will heal for 1d4 health. Chris was generous. I don't think it's a game-breaking amount. But the idea here is he's clearly playing off of Yennefer and Triss from Witcher 3, I think, particularly. You know, both had been with Geralt. I don't know if anybody here's played. Have y'all played The Witcher 3? I don't think so. I think I just don't stop talking about it and annoy.
It's good. It's worth it.
It's fun.
I definitely sunk like 100+ hours into that game because it's just an open, like you could just play it forever. I mean, you could probably crush through that game if you wanted to in like 20 hours or less. But it's also like the kind of thing where you could just really just do the whole map, do every little piece. And then they had 2 like totally awesome DLCs, which were essentially relatively complete games on their own.
Yeah,
so
Hearts of Stone was a little smaller, but like Blood and Wine was 100% just its own game. Like there was so much in there.
So yeah, you get to go to Fantasy France, which is really.
You can, if you play your cards right, you can own a vineyard, and you have your own wine, and you can pick what it's called, and then you can like buy it and sell it.
But like, there's a vast difference in tone between Fantasy France and Fantasy Poland.
I believe that.
This location is in the books, and it is like, I mean, they even pick up on, you know, Dandelion's love affairs that didn't go well. You have to deal with from the books. You have to deal with the consequences of it in the game. I love it. Here for it. So, did you end up romancing Triss or Yennefer, Gustavo?
You know, I cannot remember. I think I ended up romancing Yennefer.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
I think that's.
But the funny thing about this game is if you try romancing both of them, it will eventually catch up to you, and Geralt is left alone. So there's a little bit of that Easter egg in this magic item too, the idea that you can't equip both of them, and that he has been warned that should he try to pursue both of these women at the same time, they're going to choose their friendship. And the threat in there is something that I don't remember if it's just, I think it's depending on how you play through something. Yennefer does at one point threaten to drop Geralt off of a cliff. Maybe does, depending on the choices.
You have a whole very contentious scenario anyway. I mean,
yeah,
like,
so I had to put that in as magic item, that one. There wasn't a version of this I was trying to pitch Chris where he would like have to make dice rolls if he like tried to use both of them in the same day. Chris is like, oh my gosh, will you let me DM my game instead of...
I think my phrasing was more along lines of that sounds like a lot of bookkeeping. So I like this more because if he does for some reason try to do it, I can just have him randomly teleport 30 feet in the air if there's no handy cliff.
Make
So
it very, yeah, it's wonderful.
yeah,
It's great. So I think that's one of my favorite little Easter eggs in his character sheet. I don't know. Should we show the dragonfly?
no, I was just gonna say like I think one thing that's very cool about Amy's character is her subclass because she picked this kind of third-party homebrewy thing called Circle of Wicker.
It's from oh gosh. It's from the one it's the big Kickstarted successful source book.
Oh, well,
Moon, something like that. Oh gosh.
yeah, I
Should
don't.
help me out here. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I
Anyway,
figured it out. At one point I didn't know and I had figured it out and I was all proud of myself. I got it, the Crooked Moon.
Oh, the Crooked Moon. Okay, cool.
I think so. I could be wrong.
I thought this selection, I mean, especially because of who her character is, I won't spoil that, but it just felt so appropriate to the setting and the vibe and just all of it with this kind of, think like, wicker figures, kind of pagan stuff for this subclass and what it can do. And I was thrilled when she suggested that. Granted, Elizabeth, I imagine you were less thrilled when you had to put all that stuff into the character sheets.
I mean, it's interesting because with the new 2024 Druid, it unlocks a lot of interesting stuff. Like Druids effectively have something like a familiar, but it does function a little bit differently than a familiar. They have a limited number of wild shapes. Right? Like there's a lot of stuff that's changed with the Druids. So it was going to turn into like that particular subclass has tokens you have to keep track of. It has another object you have to keep track of, and then all of a sudden you're throwing like a wild companion on top of it. There's a lot there. So we ended up changing it a bit. Like at Amy's request, I combined some things to make it less to have to track. So I did spend a lot of time with this subclass. I think the spells, because it's giving you spells that are some of them are D&D spells, but a lot of them are from that source book. And the spells actually took longer than anything. Not necessarily from a DM perspective, you're going to have to deal with wicker emanations. Good luck. But at least I located them on one creature. But the spells in there are very, very cool. And it did take a while to understand them well enough to boil the language down so it would fit nicely in the cards, still be legible. That was almost harder. I think just because the logic behind them, like you could tell this is a different author, like the way they're thinking about magic, and it's cool applications. So I think the spells are really, really fun. It's definitely like another example of you can take these templates and you can use them with third-party stuff just fine, but it does take a little bit of thinking.
Well, that was what I was going to say. Is like it's interesting to me that the condensing down spell card text or spell text rather, like that is one of the hardest and most time-consuming parts of this whole project. Has been trying to slim the language down even further to make it so it's just what the player needs and none of the extraneous stuff while still maintaining all the functionality of the spell. I like to think we've done a pretty good job with it.
Because we've also at one point went so far in the direction, sometimes we started losing the flavor text.
Yeah.
So one thing I did this time around was I started sneaking in flavor text again where I could, because at the end of the day, it is about storytelling. And that's that push and pull that you get with tabletop games like this, right? You've got moments that are very mechanics heavy and you can get really buried in all of the rules. And then you're like, wait, this is actually a storytelling game. And we've talked about how different players and different DMs and different individual adventures or campaigns or sessions are going to fall somewhere along this. But that's, for my money, been the most interesting thing about the spell cards, because it was really doing the ability cards when we tried to come up with a formula for those, because there is no consistency for features, traits, how they present. So we came up with this recommendation that we start with what you're actually doing, like in the game universe. And then we go to essential mechanics, and then have how something ends, then exceptions, kind of like this the study order. So then going back to the spell cards, I've been tempted to anywhere I can sneak in that flavor at the beginning. Like what is actually happening?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's also something I noticed along the development of these tools, just watching playtests. I think the level 7 versions that we took to some of the games at PAX East were even more stripped down, oftentimes because they were more complex spells.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I will say for folks who are interested in getting involved in our work but don't want specific deadlines or commitment, or you just want to help. If you were interested in taking some spells and trying to write versions of them, we would love it. Like we are prepared to. I'd love to have our community built out to the point that folks can contribute, or even if you're using them in your home game, we can then add it to our database, because that's going to help us multiply what we can offer exponentially. And because of the way we're using a Creative Commons license and that it's OpenTheGatesGaming that's holding it, we can add you to the team, on our website, and have credit kind of established that way, or we can talk about other ways. But that would be really fun for me, because I don't know another way. Gustavo's been working on like automating a lot of stuff a little bit, and that's been tremendously helpful. But it really does seem like you also end up needing that human to come through and like.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like there's some easy ways to have like to have a computer parse it and break it up into things, but you really need a person to come in there and sort of look at it and then piece it back together, so that it makes sense. So it's been really fun. That has been a really fun sort of project to do, and there was like there's like a secret sauce, a methodology that we used for like breaking down the spells, that Elizabeth had explained to me, which is like what it does. What it does. What was it, Elizabeth? I
So
can't
I
quite
have
remember
this
off the top of my head.
document on the website. So not me
And this is
going to
like
the
the key
website.
thing, right? Which is like
Yeah,
this
so
little
it's,
piece of
and
the
it might
puzzle.
not even be, I also love that Dakota's updated the website, and we're getting all sorts of cool stuff in here, including our new email address. So it's listed as download template instructions, but there's one side that'll give you an example spell card template, like one filled out, and then one where it's just numbered, and then the same thing for ability card on the other side. But basically, within that kind of larger box with the spell effect, we want to talk about what the spell does, and we prioritize those essential mechanics. So it's like, what are you doing, right? Like fire is coming out of your hands. The essential mechanics, you're making a ranged spell attack, or within this particular range, you're picking X number of creatures and they're going to do something. What's the save? And then you have the exceptions, rare use cases at the end. So it kind of keeps this steady logic, and it's really incredibly helpful for your eye. Because as you're playing these, your spells, but there might be something you have to check, like, oh, undead have advantage on this save, or I don't remember what the check is to see through my minor illusion, stuff like that. Yeah, there's a nice document there that gives you both the spell cards and the ability cards are recommended how you use them. I will say it is much more straightforward with the ability cards, where it's like, number one, what you're doing from a role-playing or big picture perspective. Number two, the core mechanics you need to know. And we usually put information like dice, modifiers, and save DCs in bold, so it's easier to find. The third part is exceptions or special rules. And then lastly, how the feature or trait ends. So for example, how your rage ends, how long you can hold on to a bardic inspiration die, that sort of thing. That's the general order. And it's fun because with these cards, we can just put a little asterisk next to the title and say, oh, this one has a bonus from some pact magic thing a warlock has, from some disciple of life thing from the cleric. The sorcerer kind of has something like this, but because it's like a little more difficult, you get to add something to one roll for any fire damage spell.
Right.
So that we ended up putting on the character sheet itself because that just seemed like the more. So
Yeah.
and this goes back to the idea, these are not one size fits all at all. In fact, it's really important to know none of these things are screen reader accessible yet.
Mm.
And they will be, but to sort of explain where we're at in the development process, we were working with a graphic designer, working with our local disability community, then eventually playtesters. So, we're developing these files, we're altering these files. Now we're at the point where we can go through all of that data we've gotten from the playtesting, all of the feedback we've gotten, redesign these, and now we can finally do things like make sure the boxes line up and do a lot of stuff that's going to make it much more straightforward in terms of an editable PDF. Because right now I can tell you, Saturday night I was on campus till 9:30 at night, doing this in InDesign, like going through an InDesign with all these files. So we're at the point where we're going to, the latter half of the summer, start working on the much more standardized versions of these documents. And once we have that, there will be easier ways for people to eventually type in some numbers and have it auto-populate, things like that.
Yeah.
And then we can make those more screen reader accessible too. So there is a path to that, but I always want to warn people that we care about accessibility, but it is not, that component is not there yet.
Gustavo, are you gonna add
that's
something?
No, that's the dream, that we have a simple template that you fill out with just like a spreadsheet or something, and it just like boom, and then it prints out. But there's a fair bit of work to get there. So
The templates we have now are easier to handwrite, but if you
Yeah.
did want InDesign templates, there's one tool that's an Illustrator. You can email us. We've got that new address. It's owlbear@OpenTheGatesGaming.org. And we can send you the files to play with, or if you want to make versions for Pathfinder, things like that. So we've got our work cut out for us, but we're getting there.
I partially blame myself for that email address because I fed your owlbear addiction when I got you that keychain at PAX East.
And the hat.
And the hat.
Well, we're going to have an owlbear mascot.
Indeed.
It is a slow road towards that, but it's going to fit nicely with the Dots Dragon and the OTG Owlbear.
This is true. Yeah.
Yeah. But oh, and the other thing I should mention is it's Disability Pride Month. Everybody's sharing stuff about, actually, no, most people are sharing stuff about how we're losing Medicaid. But normally in Disability Pride Month, everybody's sharing things about universal design and universal design for learning. And this can often be misunderstood. And I want to be clear, universal design is designed in such a way that it's going to be accessible for more people. That doesn't mean you won't still need other versions of things, that you won't need accommodations. And frankly, good universal design often means you have multiple ways for something to potentially work. So this is true of our tools. Some people like using all of them. Some people use one or the other. Even when we're streaming tomorrow, there is like a mixed who's using what that's happening. It is extra weird to stream. I do think our tools work best in person, frankly. I like using our tools when we stream because then I don't have to manage multiple windows. But yeah, my guess is Doug is probably going to be using like D&D Beyond or something like that. I think Amy's probably going to end up using some of the physical tools. Gustavo, I think you were in the middle when I was talking to you. You've always got your decision guide handy.
I usually do. I always keep this handy because it's the best.
That's not a lie. That's not a sales pitch. It is a.
No. I literally keep this on my desk because I play D&D remotely a couple times a week, and I look at this a lot because it helps me bring me back. It helps bring me back from my flights of fancy. So that and yeah, I use a lot of D&D Beyond when I play online. But I do like sort of this as a quick reference is so much faster sometimes than trying to parse D&D Beyond, which there are a lot of great things about it, but it can be hard visually to navigate it at times, and it doesn't always have the information where I need it. And depending on how many things I've got going on my screen. Like if we're doing something with a battle map and then having to switch between that and the other window, and then like, or keep making the window smaller and then it resizes, and then where do my spells go? And I can't find any of my class features ever. Like I can, like D&D Beyond, I can never find any of the class features ever. It's just not going to happen for me.
And
So,
it's
which
not
means they get
yours.
forgotten and I don't use them, which is a bummer because there's a lot of fun ones.
Oh yeah, I had heavy armor master, and I kept forgetting to subtract the damage, because that means when I take like slashing, bludgeoning, piercing, this is with an Eldritch Knight I have, you get to subtract where I'm at 3 damage from all those hits, and I forget that every time because it's hidden in the fine print.
Yep.
Sometimes I forget to use her shield master ability, and then other times I'm playing a cleric and I think the cleric has shield master and she doesn't. So it can be tricky. I will also say one thing I learned that more people need to be aware of, public service announcement. One thing I learned making these sheets: 2014 and 2024 are not playing nice on D&D Beyond.
Oh no.
There were numerous occasions where there were bonuses that a character should have had from a feat or something else that were not kicking in on the sheet. And I don't think this is really a D&D Beyond fault so much as the impossibility of mixing these 2 rule sets. But even last night I was playing with a group of friends, and someone had the old dual wielder or 2-weapon fighting feat and was supposed to get a +1 to AC or something like that, and it wasn't there. But that came up a number of times when I was converting the D&D Beyond sheets to the OTG tools. I found errors. It's also really easy to not have enough spells prepared or to forget to grab something with a background or whatnot. So yeah, be careful with it, because it's not even really a criticism. It's more of like it just can't work because we're playing 2 different games on one screen now.
It's hard. You know, they say that it's like all fully compatible, but a lot of the subclasses and just the just don't totally port well. Now a lot of them have been updated really well, like the Trickster Cleric. The 2024 version is much clearer and more functional than the 2014 version, which I think was actually a Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, or maybe Xanathar's.
It was always one that, like, the concept was so cool, but the abilities it had was hard to pull off. And it was easy for DMs to kind of rule against it because the way they did it mechanically, like, it didn't work quite right.
It wasn't super clear, and so it needed a
Yeah.
lot of, like, you know, tweets to Chris Perkins to be like, how's this supposed to work? And, you know, like, that's a little bit of a crapshoot sometimes. So like, those things are better, but because D&D Beyond has to sort of pick a horse, and I think they defaulted 90% of everything to 2024 from the jump.
Yeah. But
so
it's
like making a
interesting
2014 character or porting a 2014 character is hard.
Well, at one point they were going to switch, like, automatically switch everyone's character sheets over. Then there was a big uproar. They said they didn't, but then in some cases it looks like maybe they did, or they forgot to switch it back. It's okay, Chris, I warned you about something, and this is Ask the D&D Professor.
Oh no.
What is a magic action?
A magic action, so far as I understand it, I have not looked at the player's handbook recently.
This is a 2024 rule, by the way.
Yes. A magic action is an action you take to induce a magical effect. It is casting a spell or using a magic item. The thing that you cannot do is when you have Action Surge in play, you can only take one and I think this is in general, you can only take one magic action per turn, unless it's a bonus action casting time. And so with Fighter's Action Surge, if you are an Eldritch Knight, for example, you can, hit with your sword. You can use the magic action to cast your cantrip, but then if you Action Surge, you just have to do 2 attacks, I think, is how it works. Again, this is based off my reading from like a month or so ago. I should look it up.
And you did jump ahead to where I was going with this. So That's exactly what I was doing. I was looking at the 2024 Eldritch Knight situation. Doug's gonna play one, and which is weird of me to do anyway because I'm not playing it. Doug's playing it, but yeah, okay. It specifies on the Eldritch Knight sheet and not on the others that for action surge you can't do a magic action for your second action. But
Right.
then you also have the thing where you can swap out one of your weapon attacks for a cantrip. And when I looked up magic action, it says when you take the magic action, you cast a spell that has a casting time of an action, or use a feature or magic item that requires a magic action to be activated. If you cast a spell that has a casting time of 1 minute or longer, you must take the magic action on each turn of that casting. You must maintain concentration while you do so. If your concentration is broken, the spell fails, but you don't expend a spell slot. Fine. But this is wild to me because basically it's such a circular definition. It's like when you take a magic action, you're doing something that requires a magic action.
Yeah.
And I can't figure out, like, cantrips. I can't figure out how cantrips fit in this.
I mean, I'll sit down and think about it, but
Yeah, I just no.
for
I mean,
tomorrow.
I'm not demanding a ruling right this second. I was just like, maybe Gustavo could. I'm just so good. I'm confused.
I'm looking at it now and I'm trying to figure it out.
I'm trying to conserve my internet, so I'm not looking at it.
I'm gonna read it one more
once we're
time,
done.
and I'm gonna skip the part about casting a long spell. When you take the magic action, you cast a spell that has a casting time of an action, or use a feature or magic item that requires a magic action to be activated.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this also begs the question of, like, how this interacts with casting a leveled spell. What's the definition of a spell?
Oh God.
We're gonna go down a real rabbit hole here.
Yeah.
Spell is a magical effect that has the characteristics described in Chapter 7. That's their definition. Here's Chapter 7. The D&D professors. What did you expect? Oh, did y'all notice that everyone is a ritual caster now?
Oh, what?
No,
Another
I
thing
didn't.
I learned. So everybody still has, it says ritual caster in everybody's sheets because we're all casters. Just so I remember in case it comes up. But yeah, everyone is a ritual caster now. Everyone prepares spells now too.
Yeah, that was weird when I was doing my sorcerer, and I was like, why does it say prepared spells?
Yeah.
But I guess
it's interesting.
So
I'm not
Bard,
actually
Sorcerer,
complaining.
and Warlock prepare spells when they gain a level. Cleric, Druid, Paladin, Ranger, and Wizard prepare spells when you finish a long rest. So they basically have just changed it's the same thing, but they're calling it something different, which I think they think. There's also each one has a different number of spells that they can prepare, that they can change when they prepare.
They go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead, Gustavo.
Well, it sounds like they absorbed the optional rule of like being able to change all your spells out at levels.
Yeah, the only weird thing is, well, you can only do one though. So like as a sorcerer, when you gain a level, you can change out one. Warlock is one. Bard is one. Paladin and Ranger are the interesting ones because they can change out one when they finish a long rest. I feel like they just like split the difference on those two.
Half-casters, well. I mean, it sounds like
I can't figure if there's a difference between like a cantrip and a spell in this. Yeah, I don't know.
I'll look at it. My instinct is that...
I thought maybe somebody in chat would know. So I'm like trying to help you.
We'll see.
It also doesn't matter because whatever you say goes.
Well, there's that. But also, like, I guess I actually don't care. In that, like, you know, if Doug really wants to, like, you know, hit something with a sword and cast Firebolt and then do it again the next turn, like, why not? Like, it's I don't know that it really changes anything in a like material way that is gonna, you know, break the game. I think if you're trying to do like other things, sure, but
when there's something to be said for on a live stream, like it's fine, right?
Oh,
we make a call, we agree, we just go. because we don't want to bog this down. But you know, it just
Mm.
felt like the most pedantic thing for me to ask you, and that's what we're here for.
Ha! Indeed. Well, the other thing I was going to say is that this reminds me of whenever I'm, teaching classes and, I'm having a discussion with my students, we eventually, if we wind up at what is music anyway, that's where I know, like, we have to, like, stop, we're going to take a break, I'm going to go get coffee, and then we're going to come back and try again.
No, I do kind of like, I don't know, I'm torn on this. I'm the person that spent way too many hours playing Baldur's Gate before I even tried to cast 2-level spells per turn and found out you can, because it was just so ingrained in me that you couldn't. I do kind of like the fact that the way it's written now is you can only expend a spell slot in a casting once per turn. So like last night I was covering a character who is a cleric, and I could use a staff of healing to cast a big spell, and then as a bonus action also do another healing. So I do kind of like that bit. But yeah, I mean, my reading of it, I'll tell you what I would say with the information I have now. If I had more information, I might change my mind. But this situation of like, what's a magic action for the Eldritch Knight? The way I would rule it is basically like, you can't action surge and full on cast a leveled spell.
Yes, I think I would agree with that. Yeah.
I don't know that I would rule on the cantrip. The cantrip, like maybe I'd let them, I don't know. Which I know is what you were getting at. Like if Doug wanted to, let Doug do it. But
yeah.
I got a hot take.
I love it.
Please.
I love it. I don't even know what it is, but please.
Level 7 War Magic. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace one of the attacks with the casting of one of your wizard cantrips that has a casting time of an action. So it's not a leveled spell, but I would say that in that case, using War Magic, you're not using a magic action, you're using an attack action to use a cantrip, meaning for action surge, you can fool around with all the magic-y nonsense you want to do.
It is not, you're right, it's an attack action, it's not a magic action.
But this does not apply to levels, does not appear to apply with
it's only
leveled
cantrips.
spells.
It's only cantrips.
Yeah. Well, so in that case, I think I would then allow that you could cast a leveled spell, action surge, attack plus cantrip.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Because it just specifies that the second action can't be a leveled spell.
Well, it says that you can't use the magic action, but in this case, you're using the attack action to use the cantrip.
Chris was turning it around. Like, can you do a magic action and then action surge? Okay, let's look at the wording of action surge.
Well, in this case, yes, because you
have the card up.
You can take you can take the attack action to use your multi-attack, right? Or actually, no. I think the way it's worded is. Yeah, I know. The way it's worded, actually, I think is when you take the attack action, you can make 2 attacks.
Okay,
is basically how it's worded, right?
On your turn, you can take 1 additional action except the magic action. So it's only the additional action that is dictated by action surge. So yes, if the magic action happens first. Now, I don't know that that's the spirit of it, but I don't care.
Indeed. No, I mean, so yeah, I think that's how I would do it. You can cast.
God, we need like a whole section of our forum that is like, give us your most pedantic D&D question.
Yeah.
Specify 2014, 2024. Give us the character sheet if you need to. We will rule.
Yeah.
And my favorite bit of it is that I can't find a 2024 action surge card, so I just have the one that says you take 1 additional action this turn.
Yeah, that is the 20.
It's in Doug's.
Yeah.
Okay, I think.
Hold on.
It might be on his character sheet. It's not in the cards. It's on his character sheet in the features and traits box. I'm not looking at this. It's because it's like ingrained. At one point it said human resilient, and I had to go back and change it to resourceful.
There we go. Action surge. Once per short rest, take 1 additional action except the magic item. Or magic action.
Yep.
Yes, you can magic action, then attack action, and have it split between a weapon attack and a cantrip. See, now Toblin can also do this. She can also do the as a Valor Bard. She can't action surge, but she gets 2 attacks and she can swap one out.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Cool.
which is fun because I got to write a new thing that goes next to attack on the sheet. Because I was really excited when we first made the level 2 ones, and I got to start adding like, 2 weapon attacks per action. Now I got to go and do the like 2 attacks or 1 attack plus 1 cantrip per.
From Will in chat. Pedantic question. If you're wrapped
Yes.
up in tentacles from a giant squid monster and you're toppled, do you fall down?
Fuck you, Will. Sorry, context. We were fighting a ship that had tentacles that grabbed us. Okay?
Yeah.
We are grabbed. And then there was a bad guy who was like really strangely hot and androgynous. Anyway, this bad guy comes over with a trident and hits us with the trident. And the way that thing is written, it's like it doesn't matter how big the
force to
creature is. Like,
topple.
there's nothing specified. The strengths, like I think both our 2 of our characters, it doesn't really matter. Okay, let's say our cleric and it was our cleric and our rogue. They both were toppled by this. They didn't have high strength saves. So if you are being grappled by a tentacle and you're toppled, are you knocked prone? Will was DMing and Will said yes, because that's what it says. I was arguing and acting it out because my fighter was also wrapped in a tentacle, but like had been dragged back to the enemy spaceship. So for some reason I felt the need to act it out. I just realized my camera wasn't on and I never had to confess to that. Whatever. Anyway, if you are wrapped by a tentacle, your speed is 0 and you can't be knocked prone because the thing is holding you.
See, I would rule it that you can in fact be knocked prone because you are being knocked off balance and being disoriented by the topple mechanic.
But you're being grappled by a giant tentacle. Another guy hits you with a weapon.
The guy sweeps your legs out from under you and you get like messed around. The creature has to try and
I think
control your body.
I think the tentacle can control you to be prone, but if the tentacle is moving you around, you can't be knocked prone by something else, can you?
I think you can be disoriented by a mechanic such that it mimics prone.
It kind of matters though, because if it's mimicking prone, you're on the ground and that's going to have an impact on ranged and melee attacks.
Correct.
It's hard for me to picture this.
I'm
gonna agree with Chris on this one only because.
Well, I'm outvoted. You're right. I mean, you were right.
Well, no. I'll defend my position a little bit, which is to say this works the same way that sneak attack works, because sneak attack has nothing really to do with sneaking, right? It's triggered by a number of different things, and really it shouldn't be called sneak attack at all, because it has come a long way from when it was really attached to I'm hidden, I'm attacking, and then it's gone. It's now like, I got a buddy within 5 feet, all these things. So it's like, I think it's just sloppy language.
It's that because it's not just the buddies with 5 feet, the buddy has to not be incapacitated, so it's engaged. So your body, it's like the body is turned. Because I think the sneak attack bit, that extra damage is like, people would naturally be defending their more vulnerable parts of their body and the stance that they have. And the rogues are like getting around it and like getting you in the kidney, So, and the thing with the swashbucklers is they're able to, with their charisma and their just like force of personality, have you so engaged with them that you didn't even see this hand sneaking around and getting their flank.
Yeah. I always think of it as like a sucker punch, right? Where it's like, they're not expecting it, but it's not necessarily.
But I'll put it another way. If you're knocked prone and you're grappled, you cannot get up because your movement's 0.
Correct.
So the consequence of this is also like significant for the player, which I think is something you have to think about in terms of how you weigh it. Because that means like if you go down to 0, it's like automatic failed death save. You know what I mean? Like you're just critting and critting and critting against this thing. And that's the part where it feels like even if you were knocked prone, something is grabbing you. It should not be advantage to hit you because you also have to move around the thing that's grappling you. So even mechanically, I'm not sure.
I have just reached the threshold for fine, do it.
See, Will's an engineer, so it's much harder to push into that.
See, I'm a hippy dippy humanist. So
I like it. So unfortunately, Elizabeth, I like it even more now that you've pointed this out, because it's so brutal. It really but I think as a DM, you really need to stress that it's like this is an emergency, guys, because you are grappled
Well,
and
'cause
prone.
the thing I'm thinking about is like the only way for you to be knocked prone is for the creature grappling you to also be knocked prone.
So here's the thing. The what does the mechanic of prone do, right? It gives advantage to any attacker that's within 5 feet of you, melee attacks, right? It gives disadvantage to any attacker that is at range, right? So, and also your speed is 0. Those are the kind of important mechanical bits.
Yeah.
Or sorry, no, not your speed is 0. You have to spend half your movement to stand up.
Yeah,
grapple.
yeah. Sorry, it's the grapple with the speed 0. I
right.
jumped ahead.
So, if you're going to take the trident and try and sweep somebody's legs and topple them, and you know, in my imagining of this, are knocking them off balance, then they are off balance at that point. So, melee attacks, the tentacles currently grappling them, have advantage because they're too busy trying to figure out what
No, the
direction is
tentacles
up.
already have advantage because they're grappling you, don't they?
No. That's only if you're restrained while
If
also
you're
being
restrained,
grappled.
that's
So
I think that's the thing. Sorry, keep going.
So like basically that disorientation from the topple is enough to give you the tentacles grappling advantage because topple, because prone rather, and then because you're flailing around and trying to figure out which way is up, you're flailing too much that like range attacks are gonna have disadvantage because they can't get a beat on you while you're trying to deal with stuff.
And I think this is where D&D doesn't always consider like the size of the enemy enough for me. Because like this is a ship that is a squid. So the ship holds a lot of beings. And it's the ship's tentacles that have grabbed you. And with the size of these tentacles, for it to grab you, it should actually be hard to poke you with anything because you would be hitting the tentacles.
Yeah,
and the fact
I
that
think
this thing like actually grabs us and pulls us to another ship also makes me think that like your feet are already not touching the ground. But I don't know.
I think this is one of.
But that's the thing. Like rules is written, absolutely. Somehow you are prone and you're grappled. Just prone, or a lot of it to make sense. Prone usually means like on the ground, and here you can't be on the ground. And I think that's why I find it more interesting that like there should be. If it wasn't like a giant ship, right? Like let's just say it was normal. Like there's one enemy holding you, another enemy topples you. I want that big enemy that's the regular size enemy that's grabbing you to have to make a save to see if it goes down with you. Then I would give it to you. If you both go down.
I mean, I think this is where. So I have two thoughts. One, I think this is where, as you're pointing out, right, the limits of the mechanics. We hit the limits of the mechanics, right, and what they can accurately represent. I mean, insofar as any of this is accurate, it's a giant squid ship. The second thing is.
I don't know what you're talking about. What's not
gone from my brain? Damn. I had a second point and it's
we
evaporated.
hit the limits of the mechanics. Ships
That
aren't
always
real.
happens to me.
Isn't real.
Filibuster
the DM long enough, you get your way.
This is true. It was something.
Everybody loves it too.
More abstract about like. Oh, prone. Yes, I remember now. Knocking a flying creature prone unless they have hover means that they fall. That to me has, like, yes, I understand the mechanic, but like prone as a label does not necessarily make sense as much in that case. So like
my favorite is
frankly, it's a weird mechanic.
Without hover and making it speed 0.
A what?
A dragon.
Indeed.
Hover and making it speed 0.
Yep, you have done that. In fact, Toblin has done that. And neither you nor Toblin. Yes, neither you nor Toblin will ever let anybody forget it.
It's really funny because I don't remember the second dragon that she slayed. She slayed a second one, and I can't remember what it was. Did you have one in the underworld for some reason?
The guardian of the underworld was a crystal dragon.
Yeah, okay, that's the second one she slayed because she got like a nat 20 and took it out. But technically, I guess that hasn't happened yet, because if she was level 11 for that,
Yeah.
then because I've decided that instead of the Dragon Slayer rapier she used to have, she's got this dragon rapier now, which Atlas, if you want to show it, you can. That she's been etching things into it, and she's got like this inlay of dragon scales that's powering it. So it's a +1 rapier that also has an extra 1d4 cold damage, basically making it a lot like what I made for Doug's character, just like differently. But the actual image of the dragon that's on it is inlaid from the scale. So in my mind, the next time she beats a dragon, another scale, and then another like small effect.
Interesting.
And she can just like keep building this thing.
Okay, I kind of love that. I'm always here
I'm
for
saying,
like.
I've never been so proud of magic items as I have been the last like what 72 hours, however long I've been doing this.
Yeah.
Like making decisions on these. So I pitched to a bunch of different things that made no sense, and then it was like I stopped looking at the mechanics and was like, "What's the story?"
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I love a magic item that grows along with a character, or that like develops new things. Like
speaking of context, the other context that Will's question left out is that we were on the verge of a TPK. One guy had already died twice in this combat. It was fun.
And that's
Also,
why we
like,
have the Revivify option for tomorrow.
Because we don't have a cleric, babies. We don't have anybody that
Druid.
has she didn't take Revivify.
Oh, well, okay.
Good choice.
Sure.
It was awesome though. It was great. And we just had backup characters. Everybody knew what they were gonna do. That was an epic combat. It was a little different than the one that we talked about last time, in that like we could tell there was a way to win, and like we could keep doing stuff and trying stuff. I actually was grappled by a tentacle, and I was playing an Eldritch Knight with like that bonded weapon. I made way too big a deal about. Remember when I said this? Remember I said that the javelin is one of my 2 weapons I'm bonded to. So I was like grappled by a tentacle, and I had advantage from having silvery barbs to something. So the disadvantage and the advantage canceled out, and I chucked a javelin across from the ship that I was being held by to the neighboring ship and got the guy. And then he was almost down, and then it went like right back into my hand for my second attack. I threw it again, and it barely missed, but I had Bardic Inspiration, and that made it hit. So I decided that it like went through the back of his skull, like where the skull meets, and then came out the front of the mouth. So the bard that I had to like bring up twice that combat, who was right in front of this guy, just like saw, javelin coming out of the front of the guy's mouth. And then I tried to do the tentacle had like picked me up into the air, but this guy was controlling the ship. So when he faded out, the tentacle kind of was losing, what is it even supposed to do? Because it's a creature or whatever. So it dropped me above the ship. So I had to like fall down, and did not do a very elegant acrobatics check. But I managed to get up, and I had to like jump across from one ship to the other, and then just like pull the thing out of the back of the neck.
This is all very swashbuckly. Spelljammer sounds
appropriate,
fun.
thematically appropriate.
Spelljammer is, I don't envy Will how much, like it's really hard to run if you get too stuck on every little rule. But he's got a very, very good balance of like what rules count and don't, because these ships are also dimensional this direction.
There's a gravity plane. It's nuts.
So there's a lot of times that we have to kind of not totally ignore it, but we have to simplify it a little bit. Otherwise,
hand waving.
It would take forever, because but the ship that we're on, this thing was attracted to us because the ship we're on, like, DM's been warning us we should not have the ship, and everywhere we go something horrible happens and we almost die, and we split the party again anyway, and we just won't give it up. So like we were prepared to die. This session ended with me getting an absolutely horrific, not even nightmare, but like memory from one of the other 8 beings whose brains had been eaten when my brain had been eaten. We got it out in time to put it back in my body, and then I had like more damage along my scar. So I mean, for all of my glory, like it was paid back tenfold in trauma.
D&D.
I love that we've just got into like glory of
trauma.
No, that's a great question, Will, and it sounds like you were right and I was wrong. And I'm admitting it.
At least for this contingent, right? Everybody's different.
Yeah, it's every
No,
table is
but I mean,
different. Every
I
situation is
understand the
different.
point. My autistic brain just got stuck on the like, if I'm being held by something so big, I can't drop. So I was really stuck in the idea of prone being dropping.
Uh,
And I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
where it's a mechanic that can actually stand in for a number of presentations in the storytelling.
Yeah, that's
And
a much more
also,
eloquent
like,
way
at
of
the end
putting
of the
it.
day, what the DM says goes, and that's the social contract of
Yeah.
D&D. Because then, if the DM is too much of a jerk, he can't find people to play with him. So it all evens
Indeed.
out.
Will, I see you in
I
chat.
love how mean we're being when Will came like all the way to Boston to DM for us.
Yeah, and also like hung out last week. Like Will is a
Yep.
gem of a human.
Will
And is a
awesome.
super nice guy.
Yeah.
I love that we're like Will. I was about to say Will is the new Gustavo, but the same way that Gustavo is there and just like slowly gets pulled into the OTG orbit, I feel like Will's having a similar experience. I feel like we should wrap this up because this might be the longest stream that we've had, and I do want to
It's getting
remind you
there.
of a few things. But thank you, Gustavo and Chris, for entertaining my delusions of grandeur and trauma recap from my D&D session last night. I have absolutely no idea what Atlas is talking about, but I'll probably end up saying yes in the end. So yeah, this has been our episode 4 of Ask the D&D Professors. Couple of reminders: our live stream with Doug Cockle and Amy Vorpal. Did you two ever think we would be playing with these two people?
No, and I gotta admit, I'm a little bit nervous in a good way, but like,
it's a little. I will say Doug is really fun to play with.
Yes, he is great. He's a delight.
And I'm sure Amy's great too. I just have this is my first time playing with Amy.
I have fully engaged a kind of like psychic defense where I'm like pretending it's not I'm pretending it's not happening. It's like I am just refusing to acknowledge who they are.
Okay, you know who they are. You know who. Okay, this is who Doug is. Doug is someone that after playing for you called you the Dizzy Gillespie of DMs.
He did, which I definitely
really
wrote
nice.
down.
That's a good one. Wow.
Yeah, I have it in my document of things that like when I am feeling down and can't sleep at 3 a.m. These are the things I look at. So saving that one forever. So yes, like it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna have a great time. But also I'm just trying to not remind myself. Like I'm not looking at Amy's website because I will just drive myself insane.
I will say I have these moments where Amy is fantastic. So me not talking about Amy does not mean I don't think Amy's fantastic, that I keep bringing this back to Doug. But there are moments that I stop and just can't, right? Like December 2019, I thought I was going to have the job that Chris has. And then I found out that contrary to everything they'd been promising me, I wasn't even getting an interview for it. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And then I start like pulling things back together and the pandemic hits. I'm a disabled person. Like, what am I doing with my life? So, I started playing the Witcher video games, and it is not an exaggeration to say that like Doug Cockle's voice helped get me through that. And then like a year later, I'm playing D&D for Chris. And then after that, this. And then after that, now Doug's playing D&D. Like it's wild. So if there is any message from this, you do not know what the next day brings. Losing an opportunity can be the best thing that ever happened to you. Like, yeah, don't be an asshole and get over yourself and be friends with people faster. I don't know what the message is. Doug is awesome and Chris is awesome. Those some messages. But yeah, no, it is one of those things I do try to stop and appreciate when I'm stressed out making character sheets, wishing I knew how to handle social media accounts and on and on and on. Is like this is phenomenally cool. And yeah, and thanks to some of our folks, like we've already raised some money, right? And that was our goal, like raise some money to help our friends.
Yeah.
And we have already raised some money before we
a non-zero amount of money.
If that helps y'all, like we've already doing.
That's true.
We're already doing our job.
Weirdly, that does help because it's like,
all
right, we did the thing we set out to do. Anything else is gravy.
Yeah, and we're gonna do everything we can. And anybody watching this, please like encourage your friends, because again, even if I know stuff is tough financially right now, so like even if you can't give anything, like if you just watch, if you just have us on tomorrow, that's gonna help our stream get recommended to other people on Twitch, so people can find us. And this can be really cool. Like, I don't even care if they have money. Sometimes you're having a really garbage day. You go on Twitch to try to distract yourself from your garbage day. Let them find Doug's shenanigans, Doug and Amy's characters. I need to add that word in here. Doug and Amy's characters' secret love child. All of the shenanigans that await us. You know, so just watching helps in so many different
So
directions.
excited.
So yeah, tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, it'll be on this channel. So please just give us a follow and then you'll be notified when we go live tomorrow. As a reminder, if you do want to give in the Tiltify, giving today or tomorrow will give you access to these OTG character sheets. You can see them in action. That way you can also yell at us in chat when we're doing things that are not optimal. You can tell it like, make an insight check. I don't know why I picked that. That wasn't helpful. If you can give $5, we'll get you a shout out from Doug and or Amy. I think it's $10 for advantage to a player, 15 for disadvantage, 25 for health. But
Because
like
we're petty.
and every little bit goes towards those milestones. And you know, Chris would love to be able to make our lives more miserable or give us a beautiful Deus Ex Machina moment too. Which opera tie in there for the nerds.
I love all these things.
Yeah, so we will be playing again Invisible City of Kitezh tomorrow. I will say the stream is gonna have language. Like, I think no matter what we do, it just is. Like, Doug and Amy are hysterical and we're not really trying to censor or control them. So if you're worried about that and you've got young kids, just so you know, might be a headphones kind of thing. But that's going to be tomorrow, at least 3 hours, probably closer to 4. So come and go as you need to. Every little bit of that helps. Donate to the Tiltify, help our friends at Dots RPG. Is there anything else y'all want to say before we close out tonight? Oh, I have one more.
I have a very
Next
nerdy
week-
reference.
Do that first. Go for it.
Oh, I was just thinking, like, I think there's something in Art of War with Sun Tzu that's like you only fight a battle that you know you've already won. You only start a fundraiser you know you've already succeeded with. So I think we're good.
Yep.
I mean, if we keep our standards low.
That's how I get through academia, baby.
I should say we did set our fundraising goal at 500, and that was completely arbitrary. It is going to take thousands for Dots to achieve their mission, but there's a lot of folks helping. So, yeah.
Anyway, that's me.
Every little bit helps there. I was going to say, it sounds like, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, that a week from today, we'll have one more a little bit off topic, Ask the D&D Professors, in the sense that it'll be a bit of a talk back episode. So if you are one of those people that wants to second guess all of Chris's decisions, if you want to ask him questions about his world building, if you want to make fun of me for something foolish I did, whatever you'd like to do, we will have a talk back or for the Ask the D&D Professors next week. We do have a form that I'm pretty sure Atlas has made sure is in the chat. We need to add this to our website too. If you want to submit stories, questions, anything like that, please use the Google form. Our newsletter, our very first newsletter went out today, and we're going to have these go out roughly weekly. So if you want to be added to our newsletter, head over to our website, and there's a link at the bottom. Join our Discord. Just thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. The one thing, I guess I'm supposed to say, like, subscribe, follow. I don't know.
Smash that bell.
Smash that like and
there you go.
subscribe button.
This is
There's
going to
no
be a
bell
little
on
bit more
Twitch.
relevant. This is going to be a little bit more relevant soon. We are very, very close to getting affiliate status on Twitch. So if you can hang with us for a few more episodes, we'll be able to offer you more cool stuff should we get that. Did you have something, Gustavo, or just...
No, I just want there to be like a little icon here. We'll do it in post.
Oh God.
We'll subscribe right here. You got it. Thanks. Thank you, Atlas. You're the best.
We do put these up on YouTube afterwards. We're a little bit slower than we wanted to because we made Atlas do stuff for the live stream. But we will be fixing captions and all that. And definitely big shout out to Atlas, who has managed to get the auto captions working better. So much technology working. It was like 15 minutes or less before the stream. And I was like, hey, Atlas, can we share pictures during this stream?
Yeah, they fixed it in like literally 3 minutes. Like it was
amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So yeah, join us tomorrow for more chaos. Thanks for being here tonight. Last
Thanks,
words
y'all.
or just see ya.
Thanks for having me.
I think we're good. Yeah, anytime.
We're
You should
good.
come. We should
We
talk
won.
more.
We raised
Yay.
funds.